Hello, welcome to the Honest Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. One of your co-hosts for the 40k Adjacent show. I don't think I could just intro me anymore, because this is it's a year-long running show, so we are the co-hosts of the 40k Adjacent show. Mr. Val Heffelfinger and Peter the Falcon Calissimo. Welcome everyone to the show.
What are those jokers on the Thursday show get? What title do they have? Are they co-hosts?
Hosts.
They're full hosts?
Yeah, you're full hosts, I think, now.
Oh,
I think you guys are full hosts. Congratulations. Okay. If you'd like to jump into the admin WhatsApp chat, I don't encourage that in any way. It's a dark place full of horrors. You think the Twitter takes are spicy? Wait till you see the WhatsApp admin chat. It's a wild place. Anyway,
Wargamer / alt-right repository of memes. Perfect.
More like earlier on, we were having like a deep-seated row about exactly how vegan we should try to force people to be. Mainly Darren pushing that agenda quite heavily, having watched Seaspiracy last night. Another thing you could watch if you really want.
I'm gonna not do that for a long time.
I'm
already aware that the oceans are being emptied, and I can ignore it enough because I don't have visceral images of it happening. So I can sort of skate on it.
I just think fish are ugly, so fuck them.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm a vegetarian, and
though. He's
people
particularly prejudiced.
Yeah. I was talking about this yesterday, and someone was like, "Do you eat fish?" I was like, "No, but I don't give a fuck about fish. Like, fish can do one." Like,
fucking dumb.
I just kill them for the sake of it.
Yeah,
I don't even eat them.
I mean, lobster's delicious, but it's just a big water bug. Like real big, right?
Which is why it's weird that loads of men have a picture of them holding a fish in their Tinder profile, like, because that maybe it's that kind of situation where, you know, when you see a collection of women, they all seem somehow collectively hotter because they're all in a group. Maybe it's some sort of like you holding the fish and you go, "Oh, you're not the ugly guy," because the fish is the ugly one, and you somehow look hotter. Maybe
it's a way better option than the tiger thing. Like, don't get a picture beside a tiger because those things are fucking hot. Go for the sturgeon. Get yourself a sturgeon. Just be like, look at this motherfucker. You could be with him. You could be with me. Take your pick.
Look at this thing's skinny ass lips. You don't want this thing.
Look at these
tiny lips.
All right, welcome both of you to the show. Twitch chat, big shout out to you, podcast bros. Stay hydrated, loads of love, and of course everyone on Patreon. Thank you for making it so that I live in like a kind of slum, but like I like it. So leave me alone. So
dude, your house is like one of the places the Ninja Turtles lived. It's awesome.
It's true.
Yeah. Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone yesterday or the day before. Second time Ninja Turtles have come up this week, and I was like, I really want. I want the next gen Ninja Turtles, but not that. I want middle-aged turtles, just like really struggling. They're like, 4 of us living in the house together. We still can't get enough money together to buy a home.
Middle-aged mutant Ninja Turtles, middle-aged mutant. Oh, fuck! Stop singing.
We can't even afford pizza. All we can do is deliver pizza. We just don't have the money. Anyway,
Uber Eats started taking 30%. We're screwed.
Right, hello, gentlemen. Val, we'll start with you. How have you been? What's been going on? Are you well?
Oof. Yep, systems all check out. Everything feels good. I lifted my baby above my head the other day and my back, which was a little weird. I've been told that it means I'm old. I've also suggested that I'm out of shape. I'm going to continue with the out of shape narrative rather than the just being old narrative.
Super fair. Super fair. As I was telling you, I can't even do still that pull-up. So maybe holding a baby above your head is the same as really a pull-up. It's like
it is.
I think
same muscles.
Yeah.
Same everything.
This was I think there was
same
a
difficulty.
Slight lean forward, bad form right there, and then as I lifted him over the head, just like, boing,
very much a Lion
kind of
King scenario.
Yeah,
a Lion King scenario. You're on top of a cliff.
But that was the worst. That's like been the worst thing that's happened to me in weeks. So you know how it goes for me. Just fine. Everything's great.
Pete, how have you been? Have you been well? What's been going on?
Good. I almost got stuck at work the other day after close because we had a blizzard, And I chose to drive my little family van to work so that my wife, in case of an emergency, could get around town. Did not consider that I would be the one that would not be able to get anywhere. So it was good. It was really good.
Okay. Oh,
good
apparently...
thing got stuck in a snowbank physically with my own body right afterwards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Sometimes when you're walking on snow, it says your weight doesn't matter to me anymore, and you just fall right in. And then you're like, oh, there's a lot here.
That's where being able to do a pull-up would be super useful.
It would have been. Yeah. Yeah, because there are pull-up bars all over the like Alberta plains. Like, just wherever you're going, you're like, man, if I could have done a pull-up, I could have gotten out of this situation.
How cold is it there? Yeah, sorry guys asking about a blizzard in March. Is that common? Is that normal?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This one was probably the biggest we've had in a long time because it was like 20, 25 centimeters, which is huge for here, not like from my little maritime boy experience. But yeah, we'll get like a fake spring that'll happen in early March where it'll get up to 6 or 7 degrees Celsius. And then it'll just be like, nah, fuck you. We were kidding. And then you'll get like one last big snowstorm. So this was it. Yeah, it's about minus 20 today. So.
Well, it's glorious here. Glorious. Mm-hmm. The weather is phenomenal, and it was phenomenal yesterday also. So I've been indulging in that. I took the afternoon off yesterday, and I sat outside in the sun, which was really nice with a couple of friends. The restrictions have lifted, so you're now allowed to sit outside with a friend. So I did that. Yeah. A couple of girls who were my mates. They were perving on all the skater boys who were skating, and we were just hanging out, which was super nice.
He was a skater boy.
Did they say, see you later, boy?
They did. They were like, what have you been up to? And I was like, oh my God, how good are Dark Angels? And they were like, what? Are you? I was like, oh.
What?
But you don't know about Warhammer.
Good conversation. Good conversation starter. That's how I start all my conversations on the radio at work. They call in, they're like, hey, I love the radio. What's going on? And I'm like, man, Dark Angels, they're a bit of an issue, I think.
Oh, wow. You seen Angels too?
Yeah.
By the way, guys, just Googled middle-aged Ninja Turtles on recommendation of someone in the chat. And turns out, in Canada, we're not allowed to watch the Saturday Night Live sketch, Middle-Aged Mutant Ninja Turtles. But controversy alert. Someone already on YouTube claims to have invented the concept and is upset that Saturday Night Live stole their idea.
Right.
Look at that.
Look at that. Well, this is the third time it's been independently created then around the world because we had no idea about it.
No, well, I don't and no one ever would have thought of something like that based on the name. I don't think
YouTuber Lobster Magnet Review, the channel, I don't think that person would accept necessarily that it's an original idea. They may get upset at us. They might
try to copyright strike us, which I think is true. Yeah, we don't want that. A rumor I heard this week, just trying to move to 40k news for a moment. We don't have to. Just really quickly.
Okay. It's okay. Just for a minute.
Doesn't look like we've lost anybody, but if you want to lose some people, get me talking about 40k.
Well, it's just a quick one. So I don't know if this is true, and unfortunately I did go to a forum, old Daka.
Don't do that.
For this particular.
No way. What was that like? You did look a little bit fallow and stressed out.
Yeah, you did. Like the bags under the eyes.
Yeah, I was reading it, and apparently, now I don't know if this is true, but again, like a Daka rumor, the new Mechanicum book, Mechanicus book Codex, utterly broken, so broken. Now, the reason I know this, or apparently I think that this is true, is because the guy who is driving the boat in the Suez Canal, he actually is just a 40k player, and he was so furious having read it, he just fucking wheeled it in. That's the rumor off Daka. I don't know if that...
So, it was a gust of wind or a poorly received Codex rumor that drove the Ever Given into the...
I feel it.
Into the bank.
Got any thoughts? Would you like to confirm or deny? Is where I'm at.
That is busted? That they're broken?
No, just the boat thing. I don't know. I didn't even go Daka. It was just a journey we went on.
He's trying to get in on the meme because the boat's gone, right? You got to get one in.
Yeah, I just got to get one in.
The boat is gone. Yeah, that all happened and ended before we even had a chance.
Yeah,
but I want to know what you two feel about it because it was great. Pete,
feel about the boat?
Yeah, were you radioing like the planes and you were like radio plane. How much better are we than boats, the bitches, and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like,
it did. Literally that. We had to. It was sent to us in an email. Every plane, you have to tell them we're fucking better than boats. So that's my little call thing now at the end of every conversation. Just remember, we're better than boats.
So
Just lift their spirits.
I just learned that there's 2 websites that I've been going to, not realizing it. Both is theboatstillstuck.com, and then also is thatboatstillstuck.com. Both of them currently reporting, no, in fact, the boat is not still stuck. They're fantastic websites, pinnacle of journalism. And I love that at the end of the day, it was just really probably the tide. You know, like all the work that like little digger guy did, you know, all that effort, tide came in,
they're
boat
just
went
like,
out.
You know, if we could just wait on that moon, get that fucking moon working, we'd be right into this.
On the full moon, the boat shall rise.
Yeah.
Yo, shut up. Matthew McConaughey, why are you even here?
I like the boat story. I was a big fan of the boat story wholesale. And I wondered if, because you two are probably the most knowledgeable people that I actually probably could speak to about it. And like, is it a big deal? And also, like, is the second guy in the boat behind going to do the gag and throw his boat in there? Or, like, because that's the best joke. That's the best joke probably of a century. Yeah.
Some fascinating things that I read on the internet just yesterday on this very topic that really loops aviation and boating, yachting, maritimeness together is they were talking about how in aviation they have a really good track record of not flying airplanes into things by accident. In general, they're pretty good at not doing that. And they were talking about, well, why is that so different with shipping? And apparently just there's like 100, what was it? There's 200 boats have sunk in like the last couple of years, like big ships, like have just sunk. Like transports, tankers, just boats on the ocean. And a lot of the time it's just because on boats still, you have like autocratic authority that's unchallengeable from the captain on down. So like if the captain's an idiot, you die. Which apparently
how does that work on a plane?
On a plane, they used to have that.
Yeah. Now there's like 100 different things that they have to follow, and like it's a series of steps to avoid anything bad happening. Right? There's like a computer on board that'll be like, "Hey, there's a plane near you. You should probably do something." It'll automatically detect other planes in the area. There's a guy watching a radar that's like, "Hey, there's a plane near you. You should probably do something about it." The pilot can also decide, the co-pilot, like there's all sorts of little things to keep this from happening now because it does, right? So there's also it's very hard. You have to really work for it to crash a plane in the air, at least.
He's been working at it for years now.
Working at it, yeah. It's very hard. You try your best, but sometimes.
And arguably not anywhere near as funny as when you crash a boat.
No, not at all. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
Although there are some pretty hair-raising YouTube videos of boats going wrong that are just because it happens in slow motion. Like, I mean, when this giant boat was wedging itself into that channel, it would have been like no kind of a scenario that takes a long time.
Yeah.
So like, there's a different kind of terror in a ship crash versus an airplane crash. You know what I mean? Slow motion terror.
Well, it kind of led me on to thinking that 2021 really has been the year of like the maritime. We had sea shanties were kind of February, and now
I tried my best not to acknowledge that meme, but continue.
Do you not like the sea shanty meme?
That was a bit weird.
Val's a landlocked bougie son of a bitch.
I live on a lake, all right? I can smell the fresh water from here.
He hates sea shanties. He doesn't understand the maritime tradition.
I live on a great lake. It's the greatest lake. Our lakes are huge. We don't need no salt water. This lake is great. You're not going to believe this lake.
Well, we've got Steve in the chat, who I know is in the Navy, or the English Navy. I think it's still called the Navy.
The old Navy, as it were.
The Royal Navy brought to you by the Bank of Scotland or something?
The old Navy. He says that he's never sunk a ship, and also he's been through the Suez Canal a few times, and apparently you just don't touch the steering wheel. Just straight, like cruise control it, straight through. So
maybe that's what they were doing. Don't touch the steering wheel. The floor is lava. The floor is lava.
I mean, honestly, but it's way better social commentary than 2020 threw up. I think the boats. So I'm very happy about the boats. On to 40k, I think.
Okay.
Has there been any rumors about large scale events? There's a couple that have cancelled here. I don't know if you guys have heard any rumors of big large scale events starting to drop. Some sad news this week, obviously, is the WTC has had to cancel.
Yeah,
this year. Sorry, postpone. Obviously, which is the right decision.
It is, yeah.
Have you guys heard of any events that are starting up soon, or like in areas that you think are safe, or like is there anything to look forward to, kind of from competitive 40k in person?
Atlantic City Open.
Got
opened up yesterday. Is it gonna be safe? I don't know. There was a American health official almost crying on TV yesterday about being like, just give us a few more days. And like, I'm making fun of it, but it's sad when like the health officials are just begging you to wear a mask so that you don't die. And she's like a friggin' PTSD ER nurse that got appointed by Biden. So like, she went through some stuff at the beginning of this. Anywho, so we'll see. I think by the time summer rolls around, like there's going to be a lot of vaccine in arms, but we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of events starting up, whether they should or not. It's a whole other story. But like there were 4 GTs on the weekend, 2 in Australia, 2 in the United States.
Wow.
It's coming back up, whether we want it to or not. So.
Yeah, we did talk about this maybe a few months ago, didn't we? We said that there's going to be a very difficult interim period where there are the too keen. And then did you see what happened in Miami for spring break? A
lot of STDs, or are we back to normal transmitted diseases again?
No, they had to do a statewide emergency and close the place down at like 8 p.m. the whole state because everyone was just going buck wild. Because they were like first time out in a year, woo! And they were like just destroying the place. And
and they were lying. All of those people were out the entire year. That's the thing. Not a single one of them actually quarantined.
Yeah, but here in the UK, so some news for you guys. We're now allowed to do, and I think Gitley in the chat is doing a bit of garden hammer. So we have that. I think maybe this might just be England. So yeah, we've got some sweet ass.
Is that where you have your minis with you? And oh look, we're gonna dig some tulip bulbs. Hey, isn't that right, Corbulo? Then you like dig a hole and you talk to your mini. Is that what garden hammer is?
Yes, you're allowed to play in your garden. I think the current rules are I'm allowed to meet someone from another house in like 3 of us from or like you could do a group of 6, I think, outside, like basically.
So you're back to like 19th century courtship rules.
Yeah. I mean, that's already been happening for the past year. Like, if you wanted to go on a date, you would be like, "Hey, would you like to go for a soiree along the river? Like, would you like to walk around the gardens?"
Alert status: Wuthering Heights.
Yeah. There were so many Moors dates, and not as many Moors murders, which is really surprising. But yeah, 40k in a field, as Dan Brooker said. If only we had the weather. 6 people or 2 households is basically the story. So people are doing in the UK a little bit of gun hammer. It's still not acceptable for us until next month, so May. Month after 2 months for us to meet up indoors, and then the month after that it's like fucking 2 guns, let's go.
Question from the floor. What do they know about the future from that they can say that? Like, shouldn't it just be based on what's happening in the world?
No, that's not how. Like, I'm so sorry if you missed the recent memo. We're not doing like things anymore based on evidence or like none of that. We just do stuff. That's how things work now.
Maybe Ontario.
Like, this is the date we do stuff now.
Yeah,
in Ontario, I literally have booked a haircut because actually I'm making fun, but in Ontario we're doing the same dumb thing. I've booked a haircut for Tuesday, April the 13th, because apparently I can't get COVID on Tuesday, April the 13th. So I'm getting a haircut.
There you go.
That's the first day you're allowed to get haircuts in Ontario, 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
So, we're allowed to do inside. in April actually. Like, so it's interesting the kind of difference. But I don't know. I don't really keep track anymore. I can't be asked. Like, whatever. But yeah, just interesting. So I just thought I'd update you. I'll be like, there we go. What's going on?
Do you think in Nottingham there'll just be some Japanese guy who doesn't acknowledge that COVID has ended, and he'll just be in the forest of Nottingham, Sherwood Forest, just running around, and like 10 years from now, someone will be like, "Hey man, like it's over," and he'll just socially distance, and no one can get close enough to him to tell him that the war is over?
Potentially, but it might be me. Because I'm tempted to go do that. It sounds so much more fun.
No one tell Rob when it's over.
Just still in the box.
Pete and I need this.
Well, I was wondering, the question I wanted to ask you both was, like, with the concept of in the next few months, being people who have talked to tourney pros and been aware of tournaments for several years, with the next few months, with 40k coming up, so let's say next 6 months, do you think that you could at this point build and put together some 40k armies prepping, or do you think that just isn't how, because I know the Dark Angels book has had some significant impact generally on the meta and also just kind of on the consciousness of 40k. Do you feel like, what would you do you think, to prep over the next 6 months? Like, I'd say 6 months feels like maybe you could kind of plan to go to an event in 6 months' time, which is pretty much like normal planning time for going to events, right? Normally, I'm going to go to that event in 6 months' time. So, like, do you think there's anything outside of like the normal stuff that you would do to prep for an event? And also, how would you prep? Like, if, you know, there's people who are like, cool, I want to get into 40k, or I did play 40k, but I haven't touched it for a year. What do you think? Where would you be, like, mentally with that? Or is that too?
That's a great question. I just keep talking, so I'm going to let Pete in on the conversation.
I don't like, just do what you normally would have done. At this point, like, nothing's changed. It's just no one's playing.
Boring.
Yeah, there's nothing to say. It's just 40k is 40k. Yes, Dark Angels are super scary. Drukhari are probably scarier. I don't know if there's many armies that can beat them right now once they hit full force. So there's just going to be power creep. Accept it. Take a look at what's coming out. Buy that army. It'll probably be better than the last one, and go from there. Win. Win at all costs. That's the only thing that matters.
The thing that I've kind of realized by being out of 40k for a while now is that, like, the meta was always changing anyway. Like
never changed.
Like it was like, for the most part, you get, like, in the beginning of 8th, you'd get a month, you know, of stability until we got to Knights, and then everything was destroyed by Space Marines. Like there was
so there was like Knights, and then we had like a year where it was kind of like there's these 2 or 3 armies that are, well, it was way more than 2 or 3, but once they nerfed down the Castellan and they nerfed down Inari, we had a decent like 6 month spread where it was like anything goes. Genestealer cults are slightly better than everybody, but only slightly.
No one was playing,
and they're hard to play, and there's a lot of them. There aren't a lot of them, right? And then, and so then since then, it's kind of been like Space Marines for a very long time. And now Space Marines are kind of, unless you count Dark Angels, which I guess, kind of on the decline. And we're seeing what's new is best again. So Death Guard doing very well. And Necrons all of a sudden also not doing great. They're having some issues, having to rejig all their lists. And now we have Drukhari, which are absolutely crazy damage potential. Exactly. And not a lot of downside.
Really? Also, I heard Scary saying, like, how, like, woe begotten he was because he's been playing with an underpowered book for a long time on a good podcast that I can't remember the name of right this second. But Adam Camilleri, Art of War Down Under, great show. But nonetheless, I was thinking, like, Dark Eldar were awesome for like a long time. They recently
had a bad,
like, till Psychic Awakening, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shut up, Scary. Yeah, I said it.
Yeah, wow. Shut up, Scary.
Shut up.
Wow. So what are we telling him shut up for? It's strong now.
Complaining. He's complaining like a regular old Eldari player about how
his book hasn't been good for a million years. Aspect Warriors haven't been released. Eldar were never actually good. Anytime anyone was actually good with them, it was an accident. You know, the normal.
I need to
stuff.
double back a little bit on my previous comments where I told Scary to shut up because I feel bad about it because he's one of the nicest guys I know. So
he is such a good person. It's
I'm
really
very
a lovely
sorry about
person.
that. I can't even sarcastically be mean to Scary. He good
And
person.
if you guys don't know who Scary is, Scary has a Twitch channel, YouTube, and also a podcast called Scarredcast. If you guys want to go check it out, someone in the chat said when are we going to have Scary on to talk about Drukhari Codex. I mean, you can just go watch that, and like you got all the knowledge you could need.
Here, if you need to know how to play Drukhari right now, buy like 40 to 50 racks, buy 5 or 6 raiders, get a bunch of witches or hellions, 2 succubus, Drazar.
Did they
Win the
redo
game.
Rax? Are Rax getting a model?
No, Rex has got
no.
a pretty new model.
I thought they had.
Their
I thought they
model
were.
isn't that bad anyway. But
I
just
thought they
models are
were.
great.
I thought they were. I
and
thought
put
they were
liquefiers on everything. If it can take a liquefier, take it, and you'll win. You'll beat everybody. No one will be happy with you, because they will think they're winning for like 3 rounds when they kill a lot of stuff, and then they'll be like, "Ha, gotcha. Never mind. All my stuff kills all your stuff by 1 billion." This succubus has 42 attacks if you make saves, so let me get it.
Yep.
Wow.
Didn't know what Rax looked like. Apparently, my bad. Also, if you want to hear what Scary has to say about Dark Eldar, just put your head out the window. You'll probably be able to hear him talking about it from wherever you're standing.
But Dark Technomancer liquefier spam, I think, is going to be the way. Maybe it won't be. Hellions are also super good, but man, those Dark Technomancer liquefiers just kill everything.
Really?
So there's your hot tip for how to play Drukhari in 9th edition.
I enjoy that.
Stonks.
I enjoy that both of you are starting to learn to talk really fast when you're trying to say something relevant to 40K because you know I'm trying to interrupt you.
Dude,
That's
before
good.
the show started, we were just talking about Listerine and your butthole. So
That's right. Yeah, butt check and Listerine. Yeah, that's Northern Alberta fun times.
got to stay fresh.
That's how you
It
keep
does
COVID
feel like
out.
it does feel like the Scary, not Scary book, Drukhari book. Drukhari book. Nice.
Drukhari
Nice.
book.
Yeah, someone should make that joke.
Drukhari.
Do you think? Yeah, write that down.
Middle-aged mutant ninja. Turtles.
Podcast ideas. Pete, do you think anything needs to be done about the power level of the Drukhari?
I mean, a couple things. A competitive edge needs to be reworded so it's not silly. And then I think we just have to wait and see if there's needs to be some kind of change to like Dark Technomancers or if Hellions are just a little too tuned. But we also just have to wait for more books. I think at this point, what we've learned as Codex has come out and we're like, wow, that's really strong, is like it's kind of just going to keep being that way. And then hopefully things balance each other out in the end. We've talked about this in the past where like the release schedule has slowed down so much that I think a lot of the stuff that we're playing was kind of tested in a different way than we're getting to play it, where, you know,
How many books
they
are
were
we in
planning,
now?
what,
Depends how you
5,
look.
6? I don't know. But like if you think about it in a way of like everything's been slowed down so much, there's a high probability that like we were expected to be playing Drukhari with like new AdMech and Sisters of Battle at the same time, and that might completely change like the expectations and what's good and what isn't, right? So
There's a question I was going to ask was because it's relevant because it's happening in Age of Sigmar at the moment, and I've kind of gone through a change, I guess. Would you say the new Drukhari book is pitched at the same level as... So Dark Angels is an expansion, right? So not its own codex. So would you say all of the codexes, so Marines, all expansions, then Necrons, Death Guard, and Drukhari, would you say that they're pitched at the same level? Or do you think that there's like, would you say that they can all compete with each other, or do you think that they're in different worlds?
I think that was the intent. I don't think it's what's actually happening. I think that each book has been slightly better than the last. Not like head and shoulders better, but I think there's been like a slight improvement. I would actually say Death Guard was a bigger jump from like Necrons to Death Guard than we had previously. And then like Dark Angels to Death Guard was like, okay, I can see where this is going. And then we have Drukhari, which is just like an extra step above them, slight step, but a step nonetheless.
For frame of reference there, I think we're at 7 books because I'm still in camp. I'm still in the camp that supplements are their own books.
Oh, I do.
Oh yeah. I mean, in the old days, they would just reprint the data slates in it, and then we'd call it its own codex. There's fundamentally no difference. I don't get it.
Like, I think Necrons may end up suffering from being the first book. But that being said, I still think it's a good book, and we're still seeing them like come up with wins. There were like 3 Necron lists at the this last weekend that went 4-0 before they took their first loss. One of them just went 4-0-1. And the lists have completely changed because people are realizing like the stuff that everyone thought was really good at first doesn't work into like Dark Angels, so they have to completely rethink how they play. And that's been helpful because Death Guard and Dark Angels are now like between the two of them like 40% of the meta. So
wow.
So right now, if you think about it, if we were on the same release schedule as 8th edition was, edition would have dropped in June. Space Marines would have been in July. Death Guard would have, Necrons would have been in August. So that's 2 down, and then we'd be in like November because it'd be 2 books from there. So those guys would have gotten their own months, and then we would have had 2 books in September and 2 books in October. We'd be halfway through November right now. That's where the meta is, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so it's on a real delay. So the only reason I asked the question is because in Age of Sigmar there's been like a couple of books, mainly one that was released last year, the Seraphon book and a Tzeentch book at the same time, same like month or so, where their power level was like pitched significantly higher. Age of Sigmar actually hasn't had the kind of like, I don't want to say thorough, maybe that's not fair, but 8th edition felt like a complete cycle and edition, which maybe is the first time that's like everyone got a codex, and then albeit not particularly great in some cases, but everyone got some form of expansion to kind of catch people up, and in a 3-year window, which I probably think we can expect from most of like these editions as time goes on, in a 3-year window, everyone kind of had something, and there was some sort of regularity to it in some ways, and some sort of like understanding of it. So like I don't think I loved necessarily the process because I think it's weird. Like I much preferred 8th launch, bosh, everyone's got some new shit like in the kind of compendiums or whatever they were at the time. Yeah, boom, everyone starts and then you start playing. And then like the drip feed thing is like, I get it, like it's what they need to do for sales and other stuff. Like I understand it's always going to be the process, but it felt like solid. But in Age of Sigmar, we're not quite had that because we're always getting some new armies or like they just, it seems to be at random. They've got this really fun new thing where they split armies in half. So like a release that they clearly want to do, like with Sinesh recently. Lumineth is the very best example. The Lumineth book, I don't know if you've seen those. The first book, which was only kind of released like 9 or 10 months ago, it was clearly like they were just like, okay, Control X that bit out of the book, and we'll just stick this into the other book. Like there was like a character called like Sinari, and they didn't get whatever trait Sinari got until the second book. But like there was just like it was like you can do this stance, and it's like where are the other stances? Like why can I only do this one stance? It's like because they were then in the second book, and they just chopped it in half. So it's kind of always been a bit weird. But the latest book is very, very strong. It's quite a high level, but actually it's pitched at the level of a lot of the other kind of strong books. So, and we have this kind of thing where there's like 2 authors. One's terrible at writing stuff, and one's really good at writing stuff, depending on your opinion. And I quite like it that it's all pitched at the same strength level. But it's interesting because 40k doesn't seem to have that same vibe. Does that make sense? It feels like each book feels like it understands the other books that came before it in 9th. I don't know if that's a fair assessment, but it feels like it's the right assessment.
I think so. Like, I think that COVID really has completely changed how we view the meta and how it gets shaped. Now everyone's relying very heavily on like influencers to figure out what's good and what's not. And that's been actually, I think, pretty good for like the minimal tournaments that we've had, because we're seeing like a real like broad range of stuff that's winning now because of that. Even though certain factions are showing up all the time, What's winning isn't necessarily those factions. Like Death Guard have only won one event. Dark Angels have only won one event. We're still seeing like Custodes pull off wins and like weird Craft World Eldar combinations, because Craft World Eldar by itself is garbage, but you can find 1,100 points of Craft World Eldar and jam 900 points of Harlequins in it, and that'll work. Yeah, there's a lot of good. There's a lot of meat on this bone right now in ninth, which is awesome, and it's just a matter of seeing like where it goes from here. Like, can people adjust with their previous codexes to make up for some of this potential creep? And that, I guess, will determine how balanced and good the edition actually is. That's why I see some people like, how do you fix Dark Angels and stuff in the chat. I don't know yet, because I want to see I do want to wait at least another codex or two to see if like there was no plan to fix it anyway. I think like Dark Angel secondaries are a problem. The like Ravenwing one that's like move 12 inches and do a thing, but there's no the definition of move 12 inches is you can just pop a wheelie like right where you're at and do a burnout.
Come back.
Like you don't even have to move the model. You be like, he moved 12 inches. Now I have Jink and I get my 3 objective points. Or like the stand on an objective one with a unit that's practically impossible to kill. Like that stuff seems a little too strong, especially because you can use the Space Marine secondaries as well from the Space Marine Codex, and no one else really has that option to have like that many extra. So we'll have to see if that's an impact. Like little stuff like that.
And that all seems like stuff that is so easily fixed by just adding a constraint, right? Like,
yep.
Okay, you can pick one of these guys, not all of them, and also, you give Ravenwing a little addendum to that rule where they have to move like a flyer. They got to move 18 inches away from where they are, or whatever it is, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I think a lot of that can be fixed, and I think for the first time ever, I'm in the we can wait and see camp.
Same.
I think yeah, it's the first time ever for wait and see for me. And I think there's stuff that's probably obviously kind of maybe too tough and strong, but I am functionally Warhammer illiterate at this point. I know Dark Angels are making people upset. I don't really know why. That's it.
Like army wide OBSEC and transhuman without really having to pay for it is a big thing. It's a really big thing.
It's fairly significant.
Yeah.
One thing I would say about like codex releases is that, and I think we've talked about it on the show before. In 8th edition, you could totally see what they were able to bite off in, take off in one bite. So like there was a definite grouping of codexes that had a very similar design philosophy, felt very similar power level, similar complexity, and that was sort of like your wave one. And then the rest of the books kind of felt pretty bespoke. Like maybe there was a second wave, and then the final books all felt like they were sort of built with the existing meta of 8th edition in mind. Mm-hmm. And by that I mean like orcs were clearly created knowing what everyone else was like, and as was GSC and all that, and then Space Marines were created not really understanding what 40K was. So yeah, I think that's clearly like a capacity of the studio thing, maybe. I don't know. I honestly, we can't see the future. We can only, or we can't see through the black box, but that's what it feels like, right?
The comparison for me though was because actually, like, first in line with his hand in the air, waiting in a camper van or in a tent to criticize Games Workshop, am I? However, it does feel like 9th edition 40K feels like a more cohesive codex rollout plan.
Okay.
Is my point in comparison to Age of Sigmar at the moment. And what I wanted to ask you two was more like, is the power creep, because the reason the question came up because Pete mentioned power creep, and I know that's a conversation that happens a lot, and it kind of makes sense from the company. Like, it's a shitty practice. They're like, we'll just make the next book stronger than the last book, because it really means you can't really properly have a game, ultimately, unless the other books are able to somehow compete with something which is... Because if it's not really creep if you can go back to your codex and still beat it, or at least like compete with it, because that's not really creep, because really it's just differently strong, but your book has to change to deal with that different strength,
Yep.
and then you can still beat it. So that's not really power creep. So I just kind of wanted to ask about the veracity of the statement of creep. Like, is it genuinely a level above? Because like Lumineth, Seraphon, Tzeentch in Age of Sigmar are significantly a level above than some of the other books. But we have like Slanesh released at the same time, which is terrible. Like, it's like this. Like, I have no description how to, like, it would be like if you release the Drukhari book now and then the Tau book now. You'd be like, what the fuck? Like, it's weird.
It's like it's as if you were playing checkers, and one by one they added chess pieces to the board. So like that feels like power creep, but really with each changing piece, what's good on the board just changes, right? Like,
do you think that's fair, Pete? Though, like, I get the analogy, Val.
Yeah, I think that's mostly fair. I do think that like each codex has been slightly better than the last. I really honestly do, because you see more options, more tricks, more things that like the last codex just couldn't do, right? Like if you look at Space Marines, they put a lot of power into the data sheets. Necrons, they put a lot of power into the data sheets. Like the supplements they released, like Blood Angels, Death Watch, there weren't a lot of like insane tricks. It was like your toolbox is limited now, because we've put a lot of data into the power into the data sheets. And then like Death Guard, very strong data sheets, very hard to move. You're like, okay, I can see it. It's slightly stronger, but there should be answers to this. But then Dark Angels, it's like, oh, you have a lot of tricks that are like that nobody else can do anymore, or only old codexes can do. So maybe this wasn't the plan all along. Maybe someone doing testing was like, wow, like these books are boring. Let's add some spice. And now we have Drukhari, which gets its own codex and its supplement at the same time. That is just like max to the brim with shenanigans. And I mean, it feels very Drukhari, but you could make that argument for a lot of armies. And Dark Angels wouldn't be one where I'd be like, man, they're the really tricksy army, aren't they? But that's kind of what we're seeing, is they're adding tricks, and I love that. I love tricks. It's like it's one of my favorite little things. It does sometimes create gotcha moments, which suck, but like overall, it makes for kind of a more dynamic play when you really. Like you're looking at an opponent and you can be like, well, I know he can do this, but he could also do these 3 other things that I now have to consider. And the more you add these little extra options for people, right, it is a bit of power creep. And so then you have your old codexes, which then like Necrons now have to like completely rejig what they thought was good to deal with it. And it'll just come to a point where you have to find out, like, is there enough little things you can do to make it work? And then you have your old 8th edition codexes that are mostly relying on like jank that was never fixed, like in an FAQ, to be like, this is how I'm going to win. Like, I'm going to take 15-point death core of Krieg riders that may or may not be fast attack or elite, so I can put them in whatever slot I feel, and then just tell the TO that's what it is. And yeah, go that route.
Nothing. Val, got something?
Oh, sorry, I just decided to buy isthestompagood.com. and we can Sorry. Okay. It's going to cost me $36.
That seems worth it, though.
$2.99.
By the way, if you're interested in a stonk, the Honest Wargamer crew are currently selling Games Workshop wholesale, all of Lenton retail estate on Earth 2 for $100,000 if you are of interest.
Nice.
Oh, it's up for sale already? We got to the moon, buddy. You gotta diamond hand that. What are you,
I think
crazy?
we're diamond handing it quite well. I think we don't mind, like, out in we bought in the dip, which was the start, and I think 100K on top of our £30
Are these
investment.
Transactions? Are they done using non-fungible tokens? That's what I want to know. So, are you going to sell Nottingham as an NFT?
Oh, fascinating. What? Like, oh, of course, this is what you want to do. You want to somehow package it into some sort of dividend and then resell the insurance on that on a low...
That's what Val wants.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's even beyond what I was thinking. Yeah, you could buy up their retail locations and then package them all together into one, one thing, and then create some sort of financial crisis within your fake world. Perfect. That's all we want.
Pete, thanks for your points there, because I think there's some really good ones. I want to move the conversation on, if you two don't mind. Of course,
never mind.
I'm going to be checking on stomper.com. A couple of questions I want to ask you, and if I'm in any way, treading on any toes, just tell me to shut the fuck up, and I'll move the conversation on. But something Neil brought up on the Sunday night show was that the Art of War guys no longer in a relationship with the FLG guys. Is that, or did I dream that and that was wrong? That's correct.
Oh, wrong button.
It is correct.
Okay, all right. Have you guys got any thoughts on that? Because that's been a long-established partnership, I would say.
Yeah.
I mean, they started after us. They stole our idea to join the FLGN. Immediately after Stat Center was created, they were like, let's get in there.
Yeah, it was John Damaris. John Damaris approached me at a tournament in Toronto. He lives in the middle of the United States. I think it was a 12-hour drive.
He sounds like
he
lives
walked,
in the middle of the United States.
He walked
that way too.
He walked anyway, and he came up and he's like, "I have a podcast idea." And I was like, "What's your podcast idea?" He's like, "I'm going to do a show with Nick Nanavati." I was like, "Okay, I've never seen or heard of you before, and you're doing a podcast with Nick Nanavati. Good one, buddy." And it turned out he was, and it was a great show. And
little did you know, he was like one of the biggest War Machine podcasters of all time.
Little did I know, he wasn't full of shit at all. You seem thirsty. That's all. You know, when someone's really thirsty, yeah, it's off-putting. You know, I do it to people all the time. And I think really what it is like, I think they had a good thing. Like Art of War got some plugs and some promotion, and Frontline Gaming got the association with some really good players. And I think essentially, you know, that was no longer the best situation. It was really like when the news broke in like the various chats I'm in, and it was like, this is going to happen. I was scared because I was worried my friends were mad at each other. So I was meddling like I do in all major scenarios. And I was just sort of talking to all sides, out of both sides of my mouth, just seeing what was going on, because I was really scared there was a rift or something. And after some extremely detailed due diligence, it seemed like quite the amicable breakup. So I don't think there's any hard feelings. I don't know. It really struck me as like, okay, this has run its course. We're going to go, everyone's going to do our own thing now. And that's it.
Okay. All right. You got any thoughts, Pete?
No, I mean, that's like, that was from any talk I've had with anybody, that's basically what it came down to. It was like, you know, this has run its course. We're not really helping each other anymore so much. So let's be our own entities. It helps for a lot of reasons from an FLG perspective, in that they're about to start running essentially a series of events, right? Like a super major every month. So having like a quote unquote sponsorship of several players probably isn't in their best interest.
Yeah.
Like there's a whole lot going on there that this just kind of resolves. So yeah. I mean, it is what it is. They're all my buddies.
It would be like Riot sponsoring a team that plays. Yeah. Of course, that makes loads of sense. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, just that. As it was happening, like, so as like, I'm pretty, I don't know, getting kind of hot and heavy with the FLGN. I'm having delusions of grandeur of how we like make it cooler and do better content and stuff. And so when it was like, oh yeah, we're no longer going to have, you know, some of the more notable names in 40K, plus Adam Camilleri, who is one of the great analysts that we have, and in his ability to just shoot the poop about 40K and tell you interesting facts. You know, it was kind of like I had a moment of panic because, you know, like, shit, that's a lot of good content. But then I think what Pete said immediately rang true, in the sense that, well, now they can be people we talk about, and we can do so much more, you know, without feeling like there is a, you know, self-interest not to be critical, or to be critical because like we have to seem impartial or whatever. It makes them so that they're just players, and we can cover them. We can talk to them. We can discuss how they perform. There's no worries about, you know, that conflict of interest that Pete was talking about. So I think ultimately it makes more sense not to have them in the stable for the reasons Pete said.
Well, I mean, I hate everything you just said for a moment, because that really poops the shoots on my my next suggestion, which was, if everyone's abandoning ship, boys, come join the Honest Wargamer network. Yeah, right, I mean, we're already halfway there. That's where I was taking this, but then you got too serious about it. It was not
Guys,
as fun.
I can be part of any network. Like, that just
You're
all
not
of the
contracted
networks
like-
out there. Rogue Trader Network, if you want me, I'm in. Whatever stupid network you British people have, I'm in that too. Aussies, normal blokes, get me on. Like, hook me up. I'll do it. I'm gonna turn into the podcast fuckboy that Val never understood how to be because he didn't know what that meant.
As far as I can tell, no one knows that I do this show because I wear these glasses. So
Yeah, it's true.
I can just get away with it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, perfect then.
Otherwise, I'm sure I'd be under serious pressure to never appear here again.
Whenever we're at events together, Val, and people are like, "Where's Val? I'd like to meet him." I always point out Don Hoosen. I'm like, right there. And so that's the other reason why no one knows here, because they don't know what you look like. Period.
And they all think I'm a tremendous dickhead.
Well, okay. Well, you've had your one opportunity to join. The offer won't be offered again. So
I think I accepted. I really.
Oh
think
no, you accepted. I don't know. I think Val also semi-accepted, but under pseudonym. So fine, that works.
Maybe I can create a persona to my persona. Like, or maybe I could be on the Honest War Game using my real name.
No, don't do that. Your name is dumb.
Yeah, that's true. I do have 4 of them.
You do have so many names.
Oh, thanks to Shugo for donating £5 to the show. It's massively appreciated. And also, Yes Meatballs is correct. To be fair, the Honest Wargamer will happily shit on their own host, so there's no conflict of interests at all. You're more likely to have a harder time. But I think that's the difference between American and English humor, I think, in a lot of ways. Because obviously, satire is completely lost on them as a people.
I think you can,
maybe.
You can gently mock or even heavily rib anyone who's not from Texas. I think that's basically your cutoff there. Maybe Midwest even you can extend, but everyone else I think has a general sense of humor. Southeast, sorry, also. Touching.
No, there's only so many points on the compass. Only so many points. Don't make fun of the West Coast either, or the Pacific Northwest.
I feel like those guys you can make
or the middle,
right?
Or the middle.
Yeah. Is there a state?
Or the Northeast.
Is Minnesota okay?
Minnesota.
I
don't know. Renegade Open. They get a little fussy. Yeah, I don't know.
Who are the battle hosts? Where are they? They're in.
They're just the
Twin
battle
Cities,
hosts.
aren't they? Yeah,
and Alaska. You can make fun of Alaska. They have nothing left
to
live for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, talking about shitting on each other and having a good time. When Val and I first started podcasting together, I would shit all over Val in public constantly, and he would message me and be like, "Can you please stop? I don't know if you're serious or not." And I'd have to be like, "It's because I love you. I shit on literally nobody else. Only the people I love."
I don't even remember that. I've selectively forgotten about.
Serious or not? Like,
I think no, that was more like in things that you would directly say to me. That would lead me to. Are we friends or not? I can't quite tell. Do you want to do this? Yeah, whatever. Okay, cool.
Why don't you love me?
Guess I'll talk to you later.
I mean, making friends isn't hard. You just find someone that's not fussy and loves Power Rangers. That's how you make friends.
There you go. It's just
that's
like every millennial's Tinder profile should be.
Little side note. I don't want to put anyone on blast, so I'll be very specific about this. The young lady.
You'd be very specific about who you're putting on blast,
or not? No, I won't mention names. But the young lady. The joke is with that particular tweet, Pete, is that she may have had a romantic liaison with one of the actual original Power Rangers at one point in her life, which is a great story, and refused to sleep with him until he said it's morphin time.
That is a reasonable demand.
Yeah, that's very reasonable. So anyway,
so I
used to yell Autobots roll out in bed to my wife's chagrin. So all works.
So I have had the distinct honor to be chatting with one of the producers and people behind the Mighty Morphin Meower Rangers, which is a YouTube series about that are Power Rangers, but except they're all cats. And it's fabulous. So I suggest everyone checks out the Mighty Morphin Meow Rangers. It's a full season of it. It's pretty amazing.
Really? That's okay. I'm into it. I'll watch that.
I'm 100% in. You had me at Meower.
It's been viewed 3 million times.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's like a real production.
It's more than my TikToks.
I would like to watch those on repeat for the rest of my life. Is what I'd like to say.
Pete on repeat, cheating on me.
There was something. The thought of Power Rangers threw the last question out of my head. So just being conscious of time, is there anything that you two would like to bring up from the week? Something that's popped up that you thought, yeah, this is of note.
Atlantic City Open for me is the big deal.
The terrain. Thank you. That's brought it back to my brain. Is that the terrain one?
No, that's the Dallas Open.
Oh, okay. Shame. Okay, never mind.
What happened?
I'll bring up your point.
Dallas Open train one good. What happened? What was the name of Dallas Open?
So one of the TOs from the Dallas Open posted terrain setups on a bunch of the like Facebook sites because they're really pushing to get to like 250 some odd players at the event. And they weren't good. Like it was pretty sparse. They had a number of fences that they built, like 2 sticks with like string between them that they were calling obscuring terrain. And so there was a like I'm not even gonna say it was a lot of backlash. I think like in the backwoods 40K universe there was a lot, but like on the Facebook post there was just a number of people that were like, hey, this doesn't look good at all, and they were kind of defending themselves like, you just got to play on it. And then Nick Nanavati came in and actually had a very nice, like, well thought out, very polite, like, comment where he was like, listen, I was thinking of going to this event. If the terrain is like this, I probably won't. Here are the reasons why. Like, you have people telling you that they think there's issues with this, and you should be taking them seriously. And I want to like your event, and I want to go. And they apparently had a meeting, the Art of War people and Dallas Open people, and are going to be updating the tables to make them a little ticker, as it were. So we'll see if what the improvement is there. But yeah, they were pretty sparse looking setups for a 9th edition game. Like
Still had those logos on the objective markers, though, didn't they? Love that.
Yeah, lots of private mocking. Yeah, Tom, you got it. Lots of private mocking, less backlash. And then they released their like FAQ for the tournament, and it was a lot of very rules as written rulings for some situations that had also got some feathers ruffled, like in regards to
when is this
reinforcements and such.
So there's also a hilarious schism in Texas itself over because there was I think Bulls was bringing back their tournament and it stepped on a bunch of toes. Yeah, so like, is this which side of the clique?
Side,
this is the other side. Okay, cool. Yeah. I mean, is this a tournament in the future? When is this supposed to run?
Next month. Next month, I believe.
Next month. Texas is getting a lot of tournament love.
Yep. So they're like this. They're trying to make
infection rates all at the same time.
The first super major for 9th edition, right? That's their goal. 7-8 rounds. I believe they're at 8 rounds. 200 and some odd people registered.
First super spreader event of 9th edition.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Whoopsie.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know. Like again, like the America is really a crazy race against time. It's hard for me not to. Like in the United States, in 2 weeks, 90% of the population will be able to go get a vaccine. So assuming people actually do it, like these vaccines work really well, like they can have all the friggin' maskless orgy parties that they want. Like
I do believe they're still doing the mask thing, so we'll have to see. But anyway.
Yes, that has been cool. Like Toledo was mentioned in the chat, happened this past week. God bless them. Still snowflake in the format. Keep it up. Midwestern United States never change, but they ran it with masks, and I know that venue if they're still doing it at what was it called? Yeah, well I've been there anyway. It's a warehouse. Good chat. Bad anecdote.
You did your best. You did your best.
Atlantic City Open. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's in June. That might be the first live coverage opportunity FLGN gets. we'll see if that comes together. I'll be very curious. What about you, Robbo? What about you?
Yeah. What's the question?
The question is, what about you? Like, what are you
What are you excited
about?
about? What's coming? What happened? What's coming?
Are you tentatively making plans?
We got some. Yeah, I am tentatively making plans. We got all the overlays and stuff in cooking up, which is nice. Some stats input by Ziggy and some other stuff, so that's working quite nice into our own ecosystem. I need to integrate that with some like TO software and stuff at some point. And then just planning to make it good. Really, I think the easiest thing for us, very much like FLG, is that my plan is to make stuff as regular here as possible. Obviously, their plan is to do it via super majors and then America, so everyone can kind of like fucking Dutch rudder each other over there in the States, and then I get to.
What is Dutch
It's the
rudder
double
mean?
Dutch rudder. The double Dutch rudder.
It's like a 100-person Dutch rudder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Explained this to me already once, and I forgot what a Dutch rudder was already. Damn it!
It's a good time.
Continuing.
But other than that, I'm excited about the venue at Wholesale. I know it's not quite like the scale of like super major live coverage from American events, which has got all the big names, but I feel like we'll be able to put down some like really nice coverage, which is the plan, and also like some nice connections. I was speaking to Captain of Team England only on Sunday night. He said he might pop down here and do some tryouts for the WTC English team here, and we'll run them here, and I thought that was a really nice little thing as well. So like that stuff's really exciting for me, because I think like before we go and do big events like WTC or even LGT, which will be a big like English, that's a big super major, like we'll be able to like really get our shit together and practice on an almost weekly basis. So that's kind of that's what I'm most excited about.
Bravo.
Although that's also quite tense. That's a lot to do.
It is a lot to do, but it's like everything you've been friggin' getting ready to do, and you've been full on Sting. Approaching climax, backing off. Approaching climax, backing off. So when this thing actually fires off, like it's gonna be sploogey.
He's the edge master.
That's right. He's an edge lord.
I might ask you guys. I'm doing the 40k pack next week. I might actually ask you guys about the ban phase, because the ban phase for Super Series for 40k is actually a really interesting kind of conversation, because you can't really like hit. So that in the HC mile ban phase, there's restrictions on how you ban, but I don't know you can really even hit that into 40k because Marines are an issue. Like you can't like, do you know what I mean? Like normally like you have safety bans and bans, so I think I'll just put out flat bans. You just be like, ban what the fuck you want, off you go to the races. Because I mean, even if you look at Death Guard, you go, cool, I'll ban Death Shroud. They're like, well, Blight God Lords are pretty good. And you ban them, like, actually, Marines are still pretty fucking good as well. Like, they're maybe not as good as the others, but like, I don't really know how you like. I think there is no way you could competently safety ban into an army that there's a restriction. So I might kind of like spitball that with you guys next week, because I think that'd be a fun conversation, and you guys might quite like it.
I like the fact that like you're going to be a show. Like it's closer, like what you're doing is closer to like a live version of what Pro Tabletop does. So like you will have a show. It's not, you will be your own thing, which is fantastic. And you'll develop characters and storylines and narratives, and you're gonna get out in front of people. Like I can't wait to plug you on other podcasts, because it's gonna be fucking sick.
Please don't. I like actually the few, like I only really want 100 or 200 or so like absolute lunatics who watch every like those are the only ones I want. Like I want someone in like 3 years' time to discover like a very professional, slick-looking 40k coverage and be like, why is no one talking about this? Like, he doesn't want anyone to. Like, I just don't want any involvement at all, if that's possible.
Did you watch a film called High Fidelity and were like, that's me? Like, is that
Jack Black?
Yeah.
I always took you to be more like a John Cusack type.
That's what I was going for, but yeah. Or maybe you're the third wheel in Chasing Amy.
Oh my god, what a suggestion though. Great movie. When he suggested it and he's like, let's have a threesome, you're like, it makes so much sense. Like it did. And you're like,
that's funny that was your reaction, because I literally went, what? Like, it was funny to me.
Really?
Yes.
I was like,
at the time, it made me upset, actually, at the time. It seemed like the dumbest idea I'd ever heard. Maybe I'm a prude. Call me a prude.
I think you're a prude.
Or a
I think that's what it is.
Weirdo.
It makes
Both
sense.
might be true.
I tell you what,
much.
modern dating
Don't
has
be
got
that.
like a lot of lot of pansexual open relationship.
Polyamorous.
It's a whole thing.
That's hard. That's hard for me. It's been a long time. Like we were talking about Tinder profiles. I really think that Power Rangers thing is the way to go. I don't know how the world works anymore.
Okay, let's round the show off. I'll give you two a minute to think about it. Twitch chat as well. I'll give you all a second to think. Your Tinder profile, that you got to make one. Don't forget Bumble, by the way, which is an app I think you guys have over there as well. You can there is a friends feature on there, so you can download it, and instead of searching for romance, you can search for friends.
That's nice.
Oh, that's cute.
I actually think that is cute for people who are relocating for work, or like they struggle to make friends socially, or a bunch of other stuff. I actually think that's a really clever idea. So I think that's really sweet.
Is Bumble the one that's like sort of less awful for the females, where like they have to initiate the contact?
They initiate the conversation. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I wonder
an
what
ugly male, I guess.
would be your tagline? what would be your in your profile? Because I know what mine is already, so I just thought I'd ask. And Twitch chat, I want yours as well. Like, let's hit you up. Like one sentence.
This is
Elevator
why.
pitch.
I mean, this is exactly the reason why I signed the first long-term deal I could possibly find.
Same.
Just don't have to deal with this. I found a woman. I loved her a lot. I was like, you know what? Let's never do anything but hang out together ever again.
Can we just hold hands for the rest of our lives?
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like that otter. I'm like the
that's
otter.
mine.
I'm like the
Sure,
otter.
that's a good one.
God damn it, Pete. That's really good, actually. Want to be like that? Those otters holding hands, but it's a holding hands meme. Pete beat me. Pete's better. Okay. I don't know.
Well, Chris in the chat says short and slightly disappointing is his tagline, which I like. Kolaru says mine is literally tell me a good Chinese takeaway in Nottingham, and so far not a single one has been suggested. Kolaru, you in Nottingham? Oh, that's so nice. I was thinking about Kolaru this morning. Kolaru was making me laugh loads last night in the Age of Sigmar review. He was like, is Games Workshop taking over Rob again? He's like, I remember him from doing Warhammer Live. Like, he's like, blink if you're under hostage. Because I was like, this stuff's just really efficient. Yeah, and he was like, what's happened to Rob? Don't get cocky, it's going to get rocky. Is a great one.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah,
I like that.
Mine just
Chunky
says...
and Funky, Large and in charge? Hell yeah. Boobs.
Mine just says 6'2". That's all they want to know. That's all they want to know. 6'2".
You are a strapping lad, I gotta say.
You are. You are 2 inches taller than me, but it feels like it's 2 feet.
Oh my god, I can't wait to see you both again. You're so fucking cute. I'm gonna cut all the shit out of you.
It'll be a nice hug. It'll be a warm embrace. I want to say
it will be.
I want to see like a wrestling match, or perhaps like one of those like charity boxing matches where they have like really fluffy gloves and headgear between Lawrence Baker and Rob Symes. I think that is.
Lawrence Baker does karate though, so I need to watch out.
He does karate.
Yeah, but
you
have those stick
fighting.
things.
Yeah, we could do MMA.
Sticks.
You guys could do an MMA fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you'd fuck him up. I think you'd fuck him up pretty bad.
I'm calling it now. I just want everyone to know, if they want to clip this right now, I'll clip it myself. I'd fuck Lawrence Baker up in a fight. I just want everyone to like be crystal fucking clear. Yeah? Right? I'd take him to Pound Town and own him. Yeah, I'd own him like he only pays people to do. Yeah, that's what I'd do. Love you, Lawrence. You're a really nice man.
He's from the wrong part of London, just for the record. So I'm pretty sure he'd pull some sketchy shit. I'm willing to promote this fight.
Yeah.
This could be
Jake,
something, guys.
Hey, to be honest, we do need to get the YouTube subscriptions up. So maybe I could go on a bit of a fight in the ring, and I get a couple more YouTube subscribers.
Yeah, get your fighting trousers. Do that whole Professor Elemental
thing. Get me
thing.
fighting trousers.
Put up the dukes. He seems like a really nice man and treats his employees lovely.
Quick viewing recommendation. Even if you don't like sports, there's a fantastic channel called Secret Base, which makes stats and database sporting documentaries, often led by a fellow named John Boyce. He's an amazing internet auteur. However, there's a particular documentary that I think you guys would particularly like called "Fighting in the Age of Loneliness."
Wow!
And it is a wonderful, gory romp through the history of MMA and obviously specifically Pride and the UFC. Neither of which are things that I can stomach or watch. but was really fascinating to see their evolution. And just like the way that he talks about UFC is in the same self-conscious way I think a lot of people talk about 40K, which is kind of interesting because he's a super fan of UFC, but like UFC is in the sporting world kind of like it doesn't have any it's not classy, it's not respected, and it's like this gross blood sport to a lot of people, even though boxing exists and that's respectable. So it's really it's really an interesting history of MMA, fighting in the age of loneliness.
Oh, I really want to watch that. Thanks very much. All right, let's head out. Have you guys got any shout-outs before we head out for the day?
Yes, I actually do for once. I'm not just going to say mean things. There's a new game coming out in May called Outward Realms. My good buddy Michael Timpe created it. I was there when he kind of started putting out the ideas. I got to name one of the factions. Then I got really busy, so I couldn't do a lot more of the testing and stuff that I wanted to help him out with. But I do have my mark on it. It looks super awesome for a tabletop game. I'm really excited. I got an early copy of the rule book because of us being good buddies. It's a really interesting system. I'm really kind of excited about it. I think it'll be super cool. He's got Israel Sanchez doing all of the
yes, that's been looking
army paint
so
jobs.
Hot. Yes,
and like it's looking pretty sweet. And he's already building out expansions for the future if it's successful. I know he and I talked a lot about like the lore going forward, kind of this like little leak of how the game will expand, and I'm pretty hyped for it. I think it'll be quite good. Not as big a fan of the frog people as some are, but I'm really into the Niffle that he's releasing right now. They look super badass. So
okay, sweet. Is this is it like the launch of the game? It's never been released. It's not like a new iteration. It's like
it's a brand new launch coming in May. It's like a sci-fi, not quite skirmish. It's like a step above skirmish, but a step below, say 40K in terms of game size. It's action economy based, kind of like a Catan or something where you can only do X things in the course of the game.
Again?
Outward Realms. So like when a game starts, once you pick your points, it'll be like you have 30 actions you can do, and that includes like moving, shooting, etc. And then different things cost more to do than others, so it becomes like a really tight, like this game has to be done in like an hour and a half because you can't do any more stuff. It looks really good. I'm really excited. I hope it pans out for him because he's a good guy, he's a smart guy, and the lore for this is something that's already kind of looping me in a little bit. So
I assume OutwardRealms.com is in fact his website.
Hopefully.
Yes, it is. It is.
Yeah.
I've already posted the link, but yes, it is. I don't want to talk over that. Mr. Tempe is a really cool guy. I chatted with him a bit about the business model, and I don't remember at all what I told him. So maybe
initially he was going to make it an all STL file game where he would sell the STL files, and that's how you would get in. But unfortunately, It wasn't working out. So he ended up going to this, and then he maybe in the future that's where it moves for like expansions. But yeah.
Can I tell you something quickly? That sounds amazing. Can I tell you about something really quick? I was really disappointed by Chris Metzen, who's like one of the World of Warcraft guys. Was like, I'm founding this thing called War Chief Gaming, and I was like,
yep.
Oh, we're gonna see like some like World of Warcraft like tabletop game, and like I was so hype, and they were like, hey, we made a universe in 5th edition fantasy rules, and I was like, no, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons rules. I was like, cool. Like they're like, do you want to get in? It's like, no. Like in no way is this interesting in any way. I was really disappointed in that. I've been looking forward to that for months. So maybe just be aware of what you. Yeah. So that sounds great, Pete. I'm going to check that out as well. Val, anything you want to shout
out? No, I think Pete's plug is fantastic. I'll have a plug for Rightful Ruler in the future. Kickstarter's still not quite up yet. Would love to chat with you maybe about it on its own show, perhaps. Outward Realms. I think that is a really thing because it's a pretty hubris thing to try and launch a game. It's incredibly complex. It's difficult. You put your baby out there in the world, and hopefully it's well received. I wish them nothing but luck.
Okay. All right, lovely. Oh, well, thank you very much, both of you, as always, for being on the show. It's appreciated. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. You're great. Don't forget to join me and Donald tomorrow. We'll be talking about the difference between the sin and the bin guy and what that might look like tomorrow. So that's going to be super fun. Thursday, we're talking 3D printing with Chris, which will be really, really fun. And then, who knows what Friday? Probably just painting terrain for fucking ever, apparently.
Hey, hold that up. Let me see what you're working on. That looked cool.
Thanks. So I've just actually finished my Tyranid board. So 3D printed it out. I'll send you some pictures after this. So that's pretty nice. I'm moving on to the Drukhari board next, which is... Oh, no, I'm doing the Craftworld board next, which is a little bit... I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 lots of 40k terrain. There's going to be really nice and functional-looking 40k terrain, but probably slightly less on the functional side. And then I'm just going to order some fucking WTC terrain. And be like, cool, this is a WTC format event today. It looks like all other 40k events in which it looks shit. And then I'll do a nice-looking event so people can be like, oh, this looks nice. This is fun. So... there isn't really files at the moment for functional and whatever I'm trying to say. So you know what I'm saying. Anyway.
Oh yeah, you never found your dream date to design it.
No, like you were talking about, like if you wanted to kickstart something, that's a whole business right there, like straight off the bat.
I still can't believe that there's not like 1,000 options. Like it blows my mind that there isn't many options.
An option. There is an option to print 3D print 40k terrain, but there isn't an option to print 40k compliant. And Pete, actually, I'll ask you this question quickly. Nick and Pete, who've been in the chat previously, have told me that I'm being too serious about it, so I'd like to get your thoughts. How very necessary is it, do you think, for the tables? Because obviously, like with FLG, I think FLG would be a really interesting kind of take. So obviously we've got WTC and then FLG in their tournament series, and this is a long conversation for next time, but just very quick, do you think that it's super relevant to have lots of 2-story, 3-story ruins? Or can you, because it feels like you have events, like if you look at any of the American events right now, it's just all fucking paper, like 2-story, 3-story ruins, like, or whatever. Like, I haven't seen stuff that's looked particularly great, in my opinion, so far. If I'm wrong, send me some pictures. So I haven't seen anything that looks overly good, but it's all definitely functional 2-story, 3-story things. Like, which defines the meta, right? Because if you don't have that, then whole other stuff isn't as good. But then now, how are you, as like a stats guy and everything, like, there's so much to unpack about that. Like, the non-conformity is an issue. And I can understand why there is no conformity, because you either have the ruins, which look like they look, or you have something else, and then the game's completely different. So am I making sense?
You are making sense. From a stats perspective, I always just don't care. I just assume that everything is going to work itself out in the end, because eventually everyone will have something similar, if not the same, and they'll just be like offshoots. I think we've talked about this. I don't think every table needs to have a bunch of like 3-story ruins. I do think there's like a minimum amount of obscuring terrain you need that has to be something, walls or some other shenanigan. I do believe, like, if you look at tables and towers, their terrain setup was really, but it was a lot of like MDF terrain that was, ruins that are 3 and 4 stories, and it was pretty thick. But I don't think every table needs to be that way. I'd like the option for there to be like a lot of variety that you have to consider when you go to an event. Like maybe I'm going to get stuck on a table that's not quite Planet Bowling Ball. You never want that. You want but you want variety. I'm never into like there's only this one way. I hated the Nova. Like there's only going to be one set of terrain. That always bothered me. So.
I like the idea of rotating through sort of a light, medium, and dense like the WTC does. And like from a tournament organizer perspective, I always thought like what you could do to do that is you have those 3 tables and you just change which table is which number, and so that way people are always forced onto different tables. But for me, Rob, like I think the 9th edition terrain rules kind of solves this problem, because you can have whatever item you want, and like if you have, for example, on your Tyranid table, you have like a friggin', I don't know, leg spire thing poking up. You can give it the obscuring keyword. It's 8 inches, and the width of it is how much it obscures. And you can say, well, it's like throwing out a bunch of spores and stuff, so there's a big cloud around it. Whatever. Yeah. Like there's ways to have a visually stunning board that has very functional terrain just because of how the rules are written. And I think that's one of the great things about 9th edition. I think people will hopefully catch on to that more and more. I think also the mixing of different types of terrain, I think a lot of the original terrain boards have been designed very much with an 8th edition mentality of there basically only being ruins. But there are all kinds of ways to build your maps so that there are like challenging areas where you're controlling charge lanes and We're getting good, I think, at controlling firing arcs and things like that. But that's a long ramble. But I think what you are envisioning, Rob, is something that you can totally achieve just by using the right keywords.
Yeah. Create a cheat sheet and just be like, here's what everything is at this table. Bam.
Yeah. Good points. All right, well, lovely. Thank you very much. Sorry, that was a quick one. I know the guys want to have a talk about this. Me and Hermanist are having a chat about it on Thursday, so more and more so, because there's some amazing 40k designers who I don't really talk about when it comes to 3D print as well. So talk about them more. Let's do a raid. This will be super fun. I've chosen my raid for today. I think it's very in keeping with my co-hosts. It should be a great
Angela
laugh.
Lansbury.
Thank you so much. You're both very much loved. Thank you, Twitch chat. Let's go do a raid and have a great time. So I've just dropped that in the chat now. We'll see you guys soon. Have a nice day. Goodbye.